Breaking news, Dennis Allen, Saints head coach Dennis Allen is fired. Ladies and gentlemen, what a day to be alive. The Saints are officially healing. This is so Nick Underhill is who I first saw it from. This is the official press release from the New Orleans Saints. So last night, all right, after the Panthers game, we watched the post-game interview with Dennis Allen. And in that video, usually I schedule my videos for noon and 6 p.m. And I scheduled that video for 9 a.m. And in that video, I say, look, we're scheduling this early because there's no way Dennis Allen will remain as head coach. So I'm trying to get ahead of this. They fire him at like 8:55 a.m. So kind of crazy. If you go back and watch that post-game now, which is now the last post-game press conference Dennis Allen ever does, it's quite prophetic. Quite prophetic of what we were saying in there. So we're going to talk about what this means for the Saints, what this means for the organization. So let's look at it. The New Orleans Saints announced today that head coach Dennis Allen has been relieved of his duties, a.k.a. fired, a.k.a. GTFO. Special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi has been named interim head coach. This is the right move. Real quick, like a lot of people are going to say, why not Clint Kubiak? You know, you don't want to do that because then you're that was the whole problem with Sean. The whole problem when Sean left was that they just elevated Dennis Allen, and it puts you in a weird situation where if they were to name Clint Kubiak the interim head coach, you're kind of hard stuck leverage-wise to make him your head coach afterwards, you know, which you don't know if you want to do. So Darren Rizzi is going to be the caretaker of the team, basically, until we hire our new head coach. So I love that they made Rizzi the interim. Allen was named the head coach of the Saints on February 8th, 2022, became the 17th head coach in the franchise's history. This is also the first time under the Benson era that a head coach has been fired mid-season. Allen, 2.5 seasons basically of complete, just terrible results. From Gale, Dennis has been part of our organization for many years. He is highly regarded within the NFL. He's been extremely loyal and professional, most importantly, an excellent football coach for us. You got to love that when they fire the coach for being absolutely horrific. And then they say, he's been an excellent coach for us. Oh, yeah, well, why'd you fire him? So there was reports yesterday that Gale was very, very upset. And we talked about that in the video, actually, that Gale was very upset about just kind of where we're at as a franchise. You know, the 7-game losing streak. The Panthers game was arguably the most improbable loss in the history of the NFL, just as far as like statistically looking at the box score. There was a stat that exact game script has happened 276 times now. But before us, it was 275-0. So it's like Dennis was losing, and I know we kind of make fun of Mickey Loomis for saying look past the results, but you kind of do in these situations where it's not the fact that we're losing games because, yeah, we did have injuries. Yeah, we did have some bad things happen, like against the Eagles and the Falcons that, you know, coin flip games. But it's not that we're losing games. It's how we're losing games. We're losing games because of defensive and complete defensive collapse, which is under Dennis Allen. You know, we were giving up 7 yards per play, 7 yards a rush. That's a complete failure for him. But we're also losing games because of coaching, like the Panthers game. The only way you can lose that game is decision-making, situational decision-making that the coaches are up, you know, that is up to Dennis Allen as far as timeouts, as far as, just two-point conversion decision, things like that. So it's not so much that we were losing games, it's how we were losing games. And then Mickey. So Mickey says, DA is an excellent football coach. This season, we have had an avalanche of injuries. It took its toll. DA has never offered excuses. He fought each day for the organization and this team, and that is what makes today disappointing. Dennis has been an integral part of this organization's success for the better part of 20 years. He'll be missed. The organization did not announce any other coaching changes. So, you know, it had to happen. I mean, bottom line, had to happen. Not a surprise. 100% was time. You lose 7 games in a row the way that we lost them. You lose that game to Carolina. He probably should have been fired after the Chargers game. But with Derek Carr coming back, with Carolina, seemingly an easy game, I think they were offering him, like, look, you win this game, save you a couple weeks. You lose that game, there's no excuses. And Mickey and Gale knew, you know, the fans, the team. I mean, we saw a lot of players come out after the game saying, like, look, basically saying they don't trust they don't trust him anymore. Like, they don't trust the coaching anymore. There was a ton of clips of Alvin Kamara floating around where Alvin said, like, players have confidence, but we don't have confidence in something else. And he's obviously talking about the coaching. So Mickey had to do what he had to do. And this is definitely the right step. It's kind of crazy because if you think about the Saints, this is truly the end of what you could call like the Sean Payton era. Payton comes to New Orleans after the 2005 season. Payton coaches for the better part of whatever it is, 16 years. After Payton, we see Allen take over with Pete Carmichael as the OC, both who were under Payton. Carmichael's the first to go, no doubt about it. He had to, one of the worst offensive coordinators in NFL history. And then Allen now is gone. So unless they hire from within, which, spoiler, they are not. Joe Woods is not going to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Unless they do something like that, this is truly the first step or the first day that there is nothing left of the Sean Payton era. And not that there's anything wrong with the Sean Payton era, but this is truly the first moment that you can look at where it is a brand new chapter for the New Orleans Saints, whoever becomes the head coach, whether it's Mike Vrabel, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's whoever. But that's counting Clint Kubiak. Like, if Kubiak and his team are retained, Kubiak has nothing to do with the Payton era. So, Kubiak's part of that new chapter as well. So, but it's interesting. This is and they're not done. Like, the Saints aren't done. What will happen? I'll go ahead and tell you. What will happen is the rest of the defensive staff will eventually be fired. What will happen is now, the trade deadline is November 5th, by the way. So players like Marshawn Lattimore, players like Chase Young, they will more than likely be, or they will at least be offers entertained. The Saints will probably start trying to offload some of those contracts, some of those players. The season is over as far as trying to win, and I don't mean like tank, but as far as like, hey, we can win the division, hey, we can win whatever, 10 games, hey, we can do this, like that's all over, right? So now it's preparing for the future. And there's no doubt in my mind the team is going to play hard. There's no doubt in my mind the team is going to try and win, and they're not going to lay down and tank. But obviously we are making moves for the future of the franchise, and that starts with this. So Derek Carr will be gone. There is no chance Carr is the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints come 2025. He was a Dennis Allen guy. He was brought in to save Dennis Allen's job, and we're 2-7 on a 7-game losing streak. Is that Derek Carr's fault? No, but Derek Carr is part of it. He's part of the process. He's part of these cap casualties that'll happen, and he'll be gone. So next year, the New Orleans Saints will have a new head coach with no ties to the Payton era. The Saints will have a completely new identity, completely new culture, and we'll have a new starting quarterback, and more than likely a ton of other new players on both sides of the ball. So the only thing I would say that is probably a guarantee is that Alvin Kamara will be the running back. Besides that, I don't have much else. Tulise Fuaga will be on the offensive line. Besides that, I don't have much else. Right now, the Saints have the number 2 pick in the draft. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think we'll continue being that bad, but I would guess we'll probably be a top 10. Pretty confident to say we'll be a top 10 draft pick. So if you're watching college football on Saturdays, everyone's up for grabs. Would it surprise me if the Saints take an offensive lineman in the top 10? No. I would take Will Campbell or Cam out of Texas, the two tackles. But would it surprise me if we took a quarterback? No. It wouldn't surprise me at all if a new coach comes in here, we have the 6th pick, and Cam Ward's sitting there, and we take Cam Ward. It wouldn't surprise me if we take anybody. Everyone's up for grabs. Any position, the Saints are in a full-on rebuild. The Saints are in a full-on, this is a whole new era for this team. And in a way, as a fan, in a way that's exciting. In a way, it's like, okay, we have fully gotten rid of the problem. Now, a lot of people are going to say Mickey Loomis is the problem. Mickey's not going anywhere. So, that's asking for something that's not going to happen. I will say this, though. A lot of people have mentioned that they aren't happy with Gail Benson. Well, you got to be pretty happy with Gail right now. I mean, this is exactly what you want an owner to do. She pumped in whatever it was, $500 million of renovations to the Superdome? Yes, because the Super Bowl is coming, but the Superdome got a full renovation, and now the team got a full renovation. It sounds to me like she stepped in and made the call, and you got to give her credit for that. You got to give her full marks for doing that. You got to give Mickey Loomis full marks, whether it was forced from Gail or what, but give him full marks for doing this as well. They listened to the fans. A lot of people assumed that because Mickey basically doesn't have any accountability, that Mickey would just sit on his hands and let Allen finish the season. Obviously, that's not the case. So another thing where, as a fan, you can look at this and say, like, okay, I appreciate that. If nothing else, this is a tip of the cap to the fans of this isn't good enough. We're not going to stand for this. So it's a lot's going to happen. I'll tell you that. A lot will happen from right now, November 4th, 2024, to week 1 of the 2025 season. Every coach, any coach, is now a possibility. The Saints are they're in the market. They're in the market. So any coach that you can think of, who's it going to be? That starts now. That is a good part of this, is that if you fire your coach after week 17, obviously you have a much shorter amount of time to do your research, to do your due diligence. But now the Saints have virtually, I would say starting right now, they have an idea of like, okay, who do we want to be the head coach? What do we want for the future of this franchise? And I do trust in Clint Kubiak. I like Clint Kubiak. I think him and Andrew Janocko and that group has a good philosophy for what's going on. But if someone like Ben Johnson is available, I'm certainly not telling Ben Johnson no to retain Clint Kubiak. So I don't think Ben Johnson's going to come to New Orleans because of the situation we have, but anyone is up for grabs at this point. And the Saints do have first pick, basically, of who they at least want to interview and want to talk to. And they can't do it right now. You can't, that's where like tampering rules and stuff comes in, where you can't talk to coaches in the middle of the season. But on their side of things, they can at least start looking at that and start really, I know they sent scouts up to Colorado to watch the Colorado game last week. That Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, players like that, they are on the board for the New Orleans Saints. Cam Ward on the board for the New Orleans Saints. First pick at the offensive line on the board for the Saints. So as a fan, it does suck. We're 2-7. It does suck. We're watching this kind of stuff on Sundays, but in a certain way, it's a brand new chapter. We're on the ground floor of it. Who knows what will happen? You get the right coach in there. You get the right draft pick in there. We've seen in Cincinnati how fast things can turn around. We've seen in Detroit how fast things can turn around. Detroit goes from a laughingstock for 40 years to getting the right coach, getting the right coordinators, getting the right draft picks, and boom, next thing you know, they're a Super Bowl contender. So, it's up to this team to do it, and it's up to this front office to do it, and we'll see what happens. But this had to happen. Dennis had to go. He was a horrific 2.5 years. He was a horrible head coach, probably the worst head coach in New Orleans Saints history, arguably the worst coach in NFL history because of his longevity. You could say Urban Meyer was the worst head coach in NFL history, but Urban Meyer did it for not even a year. Dennis got a chance to do it for multiple years. So you could definitely, I don't think there's any, there's no doubt in my mind that he is the worst head coach in Saints history because of his futility and just what he gave us. And as a DC, as a defensive coordinator, yeah, Allen was really good. Not this year, but in his career, sure. But just a spectacularly bad head coach. And I'm gone. I'm glad he's gone. I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. But I'm glad he's gone. So, but I wanted to get this out here as fast as I could. So there it is. Get on down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this. And where do you think the Saints go from here? What kind of a head coach do you want? What coordinators do you want? What quarterback do you want? It's kind of crazy to think about that lunch or dinner that we heard of at Ralph's over by City Park. But it was Pete Carmichael, Dennis Allen, and Derek Carr was there. This is before they got Derek Carr. And now you look at that table, Carmichael's gone, Allen's gone, and Carr is soon to be gone. So it just goes to show you how fast things change, and not even 3 seasons. So 2.5 seasons of Dennis Allen. Not even 2 seasons of Derek Carr. Just how much really changed. So crazy stuff here in New Orleans. Crazy stuff for the franchise. Insane. But we'll be covering every step of the way, ladies and gentlemen. So get on down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.